Welcome back to the Talos of Trump podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Did you miss
It's
me?
too soon. It's too soon. You
Daddy's
can't do
back,
it.
baby. Daddy's back. We're going to be doing this for another 4 years, believe me.
This is too soon. It's too fresh, Randy. I know it's
No.
funny, but
Quite frankly, it's been long enough. I mean, now EVs, if you look at them, they're going to be great again. I'm telling you, it's going to be great. Elon Tesla is going to be... Have you seen this stock? They say, wow, look at this stock. He's back. The market's doing better than ever before. And I just won. Before that, everything was dead and Biden. We called it Biden back in my... But I was there. But now we're going to be trumping, baby, quite frankly.
That's true. Someone on this show recently sold their Tesla stock.
Did I sell too soon? Because now it went up almost another $15 from when I sold.
Today, at least, it was 15%. I don't know what it is when this show goes live.
Oh,
I think it's 288 right now.
288. Wow. I sold at 267.
Wow. Well, I'm here to announce that I also sold my Tesla stock.
Hey,
I'm out as well.
He's out.
When did you sell?
This morning.
Oh, today.
Yes.
My goodness.
He rode that victory. Congratulations on your cash out.
Yeah. Well, so the reasons why I did that is primarily due to, one, it shooting up, two, the news that 3 major shareholders are going to be pulling out a whole bunch of their earnings / stock / whatever, including Kimball Musk. And yeah, I guess the third thing was because it shot up because of everything that's going on politically, I felt, okay, this is probably the right time. Sell the news, buy the news, sell the hype, whatever it is.
Buy rumors, sell news.
Okay. Well, I sold the news. So now I'm done.
Buy low, sell high.
Yep.
Oh man, I've been screwing up. I've been buying high, selling low sometimes. But no, Tesla's doing great. Listen, so what Drew was alluding to is I made a very public announcement on my side of the YouTube sphere, and I cashed out. And for me, it's about the volatility, and everybody who held on, like Mike, even you, Drew, unless you sold yours, like everybody today is a little bit sold. Everybody doing good. I don't think there's a wrong time to sell. Just don't sell at a loss is really my message.
So just hold on forever if you're holding.
There hasn't been a good time to sell my canoe stock.
Listen, some people buy canoe stock. I bought some, I don't know, Ethereum or whatever. But dude, even Bitcoin's up though. So I'm like
I did sell all my Bitcoin today accidentally.
Accidentally?
Oops.
I 2 years ago put in a open sell order for Bitcoin if it ever hit. I think it was 76,000. And then randomly I got an email today that was like, congrats on your Bitcoin sale. And I was like, oh, another scam. That's
what?
Stupid. And I looked at the from address and I'm like, that's a very convincing Coinbase email. And then I go into the Coinbase app and it's like, yeah, you sold because your sell order finally went through. Like it hit the price target you hit. And I was like, dang. Oh, okay. I guess I'm out of Bitcoin.
But I mean, listen, the markets, man. It's weird because markets are We have to talk about it. We have to talk about the Trump thing for a second. And in the context of EVs,
what did he do now? I haven't.
Hasn't he gotten enough of the spotlight this week?
God no. Literally, we're just getting started. We thought, you thought. But markets are responding well to the election. So,
which market?
Tesla for sure. Even the S&P 500 is responding well.
Tesla is the only EV stock that's doing well.
I'm talking about Tesla because we're a Tesla-centric focused channel, and
yeah,
the S&P is doing well.
Rivian's down 8%, Lucid's down 5%.
Brother, Rivian's never coming up.
How dare you? I thought you were the Rivian guy.
I'm rooting for them, but I'm not buying anymore. I'm done with EV stocks. Listen, I'm done. Especially now
know. I
that
am
we
too,
know
but-
Trump, now that Trump is definitively going to be in the White House, I'm not holding my breath for any of you EV startups. Aptera's effed, Telos
Why?
effed,
Why?
everybody's effed. There's no incentives anymore. No, we're going
Aptera
back.
never had incentives.
They could have.
No,
But they
were
did.
No. You will
The
not give me
three-wheel.
that blind loyalty like you're a MAGA supporter. I don't want to hear it.
No, I'm not a MAGA supporter, but I'm just arguing that Aptera has the most to gain from the Trump administration more than anybody.
No,
Because
I don't think
now
any EV is going to do good, to be honest. That's what I
all
feel.
four-wheeled EVs got $7,500 more expensive whenever the credit ends. I don't know.
Why
when
would
that's gonna
Elon
be,
do that? Why would he shoot his? It makes no sense. I want to understand. well,
Well, let me ask. We can start with Mike, so Randy has some time to understand. Mike, why do you think Tesla stock reacted so positively?
Well, stocks
of
are
that
typically
jackass.
based on emotion, based on financial incentives, based off of whatever's going on politically, culturally, whatever. With my suspected, I'm not an economist, but my
What?
suspected estimation of this situation is that Trump winning is Elon winning, and with Elon winning, there's more. I don't know. There's a favoritism that's evident between Trump and Elon, and with that may come some benefits to Tesla. But I don't know.
when failing Elon came to me, I said you could get on all fours and beg. He would have done it.
That's what I think of when I see that. I'm like,
You obviously didn't listen to him praise him over his rocket landing 2 weeks ago today.
Oh, you see the way he grabs the rocket? I was like, wow, look at that rocket. It's so big.
You're right. You're right,
close,
though,
yeah.
that anytime people ask him about Elon, he's much faster to talk about SpaceX than Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because SpaceX is a better, I don't know about better, but SpaceX is an easy, inoffensive American success story.
No one else can do it.
Rockets are cool. They're
According to him.
amazing. Elon's rockets are great, but he's still got a lot of big oil and, gas car fans that are supporting him. So whenever Tesla gets mentioned, he's like, oh yeah, I guess they're cool, but EV mandate is dumb.
Wow.
He doesn't want to talk much about the cars. So
No, he
that's
doesn't.
what I'm confused by, is like the market obviously is acting positively, and yes, Elon and Trump definitely seem like friends, but there's nothing Trump has talked about doing that I see really benefiting Tesla other than maybe pushing down their competitors more. But I don't know. To me, that's like, what's a good analogy? It'd be kind of like saying Tesla has an advantage during the Trump second term is like saying Shaquille O'Neal has an advantage during a flood.
Because he's taller.
He's taller than everybody else, so he'll do great. It's like, but the water's still rising. Like, you still don't want to be in the flood. And
we're all drowning. It's just up to his calf.
How'd you know his real height?
Whoo. Like he just bit into a hot wing. Whoo. Man, I don't know. Listen, it's just a matter. First of all, Mike, congratulations. I'm hoping you walked away with profits on in your pocket and you didn't just sell at a break-even point. I'm happy for Tesla that the stock is doing good today. I think it's completely emotional. It's going to recalibrate and adjust, but this is literally my point why I got out. Even on the high highs, it's kind of like It's kind of like being bipolar with a stock. When it drops hard, and when it rises really high. So it has extreme highs and extreme lows. It's just too volatile. I'm not interested in like,
which is trippy for a company that big, for like
right.
a $900 billion market cap. The fact that it'll go up 15% in a day is kind of miraculous, but
it's uncomfortable. Like, we didn't see these types of skyrocketing daily adjustments since the start of this whole AI phenomenon with Nvidia and stuff like that. And like, even then, in my opinion, I feel like all this stuff is just too over bloated in general. So Tesla, I think, in my humblest opinion, is overvalued. But I mean, everybody who's trying to get something, like people like Mike, because you only make money when you sell it. So people who are cashing out on the high, more power to you. And people who are holding on to it because they think that, no, this is just the beginning, more power to you. Like, I don't hold the stock individually, but I hold it as an index fund. It's in a lot of my index funds, and those are performing well too. So like, as Americans, we're winning. I don't care, but it's so weird how a single stock can just do this just based off of, well, it wasn't even a coin flip. I was about to say coin flip, but it really wasn't, because I want like big numbers, huge numbers. I know what's that number.
React like so positively for really nothing Trump has said guarantees Tesla anything.
No, he can literally say, I'm not putting you in. We're not going to do a Doge department of whatever. Like, we're not doing that.
But even then, okay, let's say they do the Department of Government Efficiency or whatever they want to call it. That's stupid, by the way. But okay, they do it. How does Elon cutting government spending benefit Tesla? I don't.
That's the
There's
problem.
no direct benefit. All this could potentially mean is less profit margins if the tax credit goes away, and I guess that could mean killing off their competitors, but Tesla never saw the competitors as a threat, right? So what's the...
No, their goal is to have everybody transition to renewable, efficient vehicle. Like,
doesn't sound like it anymore. Now it sounds like, no, because we have to dominate the whole industry.
Because Elon and Tesla are one in the same. It's not Tesla the company, it's Elon the person. They are one and the same. Nobody cares. They do. Just make it. There you go. Just do it, and they'll probably do it. And somehow he'll put X in there as well, and a letter X, just for the he's his weird autistic fascination with the letter X. I'll never understand, but he's a genius. Like, I get it. He's done great things as a businessman. It speaks for itself. It just makes no sense, and I don't want to F with my money like that. So I'm just gonna observe as and see what happens.
This won't be the whole episode, I promise. If you're sick of this, but I just want to double down, because I'm probably ticking off both sides of the political aisle. But the number of people that were so happy to line up. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to start drama, but the number of people that were so happy to brag about Tesla getting tax credits, and now Tesla getting the point of sale tax credit, and now the Cybertruck is going to get the 75. I'm going to wait to buy my Cybertruck until it gets the tax credit. To see all those people following Elon and who to vote for and who they're endorsing and who's going to fix the country. Like, this was not a Republican idea. Just to be clear, this was not the Trump administration could have done the first time an EV tax credit, and they chose not to. And it wasn't really a thing until Biden came around. And Tesla benefited massively from these credits. And the Tesla community as a whole was very happy to brag and boast about those tax credits and say, yeah, we get the credits. Oh, I want a cheaper Cybertruck. I want a cheaper Model Y. To see them all say like, oh, get out of that administration. I'm like, you directly benefited a lot. Both Tesla as a community and the individual owners buying those vehicles. You all benefited substantially from the outgoing administration. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they were perfect. I'm just saying the hypocrisy is... It reeks to me.
It's so it's such a culture war thing that I'm like, guys, it like people are willing to go against their own self-interest to have a one up on something and complete like we have TikTok brain. They only care about what happened in the last 15 seconds. They don't.
We
they're
don't need
not,
the tax credit. Tax credit's stupid. Tesla will be fine without the. When does the Cybertruck get it? Is that
all
gonna
I'm
show up
saying.
on the IRA website?
All I'm saying is that, in my opinion, like by all means, I hope the Trump administration proves us wrong for EVs. I just there's nothing that says that it will. They've actively said we're going to get rid of these mandates and these timelines. We're going to get rid of them. So in my takeaway from this, we just delayed the transition of EVs.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
We've definitely slowed it down a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that EVs are dead. It doesn't mean that gas
not
cars
at
are
all.
going to be the rage again and that the Dodge Charger immediately is going to get its gas version today. No, it's going to take some time for that product to come out. But yeah, I think that's
You're right.
That's the beauty of governments, though, is that it's hard to completely eliminate something because there's still somewhat of a free market, even though that you can tariff everything. So that way we get more expensive devices now, like things that we order from Apple or from Kia that aren't built in America are going to cost more. But that doesn't mean that they're completely outlawed. It doesn't mean that they're completely wiped from the board. It just means it's a lot harder to attain.
With that, I feel that the reason why Elon did this is because maybe he's hedging his bet that do away with the tax credit, take away the incentive of everyone having to do this, lower competition, and he just bought himself at least 4 more years of Tesla still being the best selling vehicle, best crossover, best everything. And even if that means it's a little bit more of a premium, they still get to hold their crown for 4 more years and bet on, the next whatever administration is to come after that.
I'm just saying they pulled up that ladder so fast.
Heck yes, they did.
Tesla was going bankrupt, very close to bankrupt during the Obama administration.
Yeah.
And they bailed them out with the Department of Energy loan. And Tesla paid it back early and all, but still they needed that loan. They needed that lifeline. And I feel like Elon today would not support that at all. If the federal government was like, oh, should we bail out Rivian or should we bail out Lucid or another EV company? Should we make it easier for them to develop EVs? He'd be like, no, we're fine. We don't need those other companies because Tesla can be the sole EV brand, basically. It's like they climbed up that ladder and then they pulled it right back up. They're like, nah, Tesla's fine now, but it got a lot of government help. And I know that, Biden was outspoken against Tesla, but I think most of the Biden administration's attacks on Tesla were very PR. It wasn't financial. It was like, you're not at the EV summit, or Mary, you led.
The problem,
those kinds of comments.
The problem with what happened about someone who was always a Democratic supporter, being Elon, and the fallout with the Biden administration is that from what I've researched, it has nothing to do with Tesla, the company, or even Elon, the person. It was that Biden's administration is very pro-union and Elon isn't. And that caused friction since the end of COVID. And that butting heads, like Elon took this very personal. That's why he was like, vote like your life depends on it. And all this whole, hyperbolic.
He did take it personally. Because if
you
looked at it just financially, they helped Tesla the most.
They did.
The EV
Obama's
tax
third term took care of him these last 4 years.
They got more subsidization from the EV tax credit than any other company because they delivered more EVs than anybody else. So I'm like, yeah, it's annoying that Biden wasn't jumping up and down and praising you for being the EV leader, but financially speaking, he helped you immensely.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see how Trump necessarily is more helpful, other than just
I don't know.
they're friends now at rallies.
They're friends
But
that listen, this is not the first time Trump, rubs shoulders with people, and then not that he stabbed in the back, he just sees the business or
no,
whatever
that's a
relationship in that.
politician thing. All
That's a politician.
politicians.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
he more than half of his original cabinet was replaced. He fired them or they quit, and then he got new people. That's just Trump 101, art of the deal. He'll be like, all right, this ain't working out. You're done.
And now it's the second term, so there's less pressure to be reelected. So,
oh yeah, this is going to be these 4 years are going to be very interesting in regards to the EV sector, on exactly what is going to get removed, what's going to get repealed,
what's going to come into the market and be a popular segment versus what's not going to be interesting towards
I feel
others.
like not only is Tesla going to just have its reign as the number one EV, but I feel like people who aren't ready to make that transition yet, and there's no forcing or incentive to do it. I feel like it might be hybrids again. We're going to just get more hybrids and stuff like that. In my opinion, I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
In fact, we did see that. Unfortunately, was it a day after our last podcast, and then we missed last week. Scout finally released, or at least unveiled, their two products that they're going to be going forward with: the Traveler and the Terra. The Traveler being like the Scout 2, and the Terra being something like what they made later in their life before they went under about 40 plus years ago. And they have a gas generator option, which pretty much is just a hybrid where you can stick a engine in the back. It takes up a little bit of the space for the battery, so it's a smaller battery, and yet you can get 500 miles of range according to them, even though the product's not coming out until 2027, according to them. But yeah, hybrids will become a lot more interesting under most likely this presidency.
Is it safe to have gas in the back?
What do you mean it's...
I have gas in the back all the time. What are you talking about, Drew?
What was the problem with the Ford Pinto that got it in trouble?
I prefer black bean.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no, he's nowhere to be found.
Is this a serious question, Drew, on like what's dangerous about gas, or are you just...
No, he's asking, is it safe to have the gas in the back?
Is the gas not already in the back?
The history. Do you know about the Ford Pinto? Have you heard of it?
I've not done that much research on the Ford Pinto.
Oh, that's weird. Even I know it.
So I'm reading it now. My dad actually owned one. Maybe that's why I know it more than most. It's kind of an obscure auto reference, but reading about it now, I looked up, what was wrong with the Ford Pinto. It came out in 1970. It faced a major controversy due to its fuel tank design. The positioning of the fuel tank made the vehicle susceptible to rupture and explode upon rear-end collisions. So that, I guess, would be my concern with putting a gas generator on the rear, is like, how does that perform in a rear-end collision?
I'm not too sure where for the Harvester version of the Scout, which is the extended range gas generator version of it, the hybrid version. I'm not too sure where the tank is particularly, but I know that the engine's in the back. And with the engine being in the back, which is an interesting choice, I guess there is rear-engined vehicles, but with like an SUV and a truck, that will be, and also what even engine are they going to choose? Is it going to be something from VW's catalog? Is it going to be a Porsche engine or something like that? Or are they going to have to make something new for this product? What that layout's going to look like. I would think that the gas tank sits between the engine and the battery. So somewhere right behind the cabin. But these are decently sized vehicles from what I've seen as their dimensions. And
That
so I
could
figured,
help.
yeah, I figure that there's a lot of space that will buffer a collision from impact and or intrusion into that tank.
I hope so. Yeah, I would hope so. Oh, thank God. They finally updated the dimensions.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if
Oh.
people can see this well on
Who has
YouTube or
dementia?
video side of things.
Uh,
But these things are pretty much
did
it's
I
a little
win?
bit bigger than the Rivians, right?
Yeah, they're pretty big. Wait, what does that say? Cab to bumper. So it's a 71-inch bed?
Well, it's cab to bumper. You have to subtract a little bit to get to what the bed is because
Wow.
there's
Why
a
would you
tailgate
give me
there.
that measurement? What can I do with that?
They have some interesting
So-
choices for measurements. The first measurements that they put here 2 weeks ago was only one dimension for the width,
Yeah.
one
And
dimension
it
for
was
the
the one
length,
with mirrors.
and then wheelbase and height. And that was kind of it. You had to surmise based off of that what that looks like when comparing it to everything else. But I believe this is, at least for the Terra, it's bigger than an R1T. But for the
Yeah, 229. That's pretty much I think that's longer than a Cybertruck.
yeah, it's
pretty
pretty
big.
much I think the same size as my Ram, if not bigger.
Whew.
And then for the Traveler, I believe that's the same size as an R1S or something a little bit bigger than it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the thing, I don't know, Randy, if you caught the announcement of this. Well, they don't even show it in this image. I haven't actually poked around this website too much.
I know they got a lot of renders, don't they?
There's a lot of renders, but let me grab an image somewhere. But they offer not just a typical interior in this thing.
Let me guess. Green? Oh.
They better. I mean, this is VW's Rivian.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Gosh, how come there's no images of this thing? I'm gonna grab it from someone's video. But
They already scrapped it from the internet.
like no
Rivian
one
with
can
the
see
front
this.
row seats folding flat. They were like, wait a second. Never mind.
No.
And of course. But the thing that I love and that something that I wished came with the Cybertruck, and of course now hindsight, whatever, it wasn't going to happen and it didn't happen. But with Scout, there it is. Jerry rig everything got to go inside this thing. It's a bench seat. So
hey, another
like,
bench.
Yeah, first EV. Well, I guess we don't know if it's going to be the first EV with a bench seat because it's not coming out until 2027. But I would love if that is an option that they go forward with because it's something that we haven't seen in the EV space yet. And fitting 6 people in there without having to make it a very long vehicle, I think is a pretty good idea and allows you to do a lot of stuff with that interior, whether you want your dogs with you or you want to store a lot more stuff up in the front with you. It unlocks a lot more than just having a giant center console sitting there that maybe holds a few knickknacks that you carry around with you and you never really open it.
Well, I can't do anything with a bench. I gotta be able to turn around and reach in the back, give some goldfish to my kid or something. How cool would it be if we had, I bet the X does this though, doesn't it? No center console, just have that spot open. Easy to walk back there like you're a pilot.
Like was it VW ID Buzz?
I was gonna say you're describing the ID Buzz.
So
the van Mike loves so much.
My sister-in-law's boyfriend works as a mechanic. Twice removed. Works for VW as a mechanic.
How is she an in-law if she has a boyfriend?
What?
I don't understand the relation, which is very important for the rest of the story. I know, but
my sister-in-law's boyfriend.
If she's okay, Never mind. I get it.
My
Continue.
wife's sister,
Yeah, that makes sense.
her boyfriend,
Got it.
is a mechanic for VW.
That makes
Literally
sense.
yesterday, he got trained on how to service the ID Buzz, and he was sending in our little family group chat. He was sending all these photos and stuff, and he was showing all the. He had a second version of the pre-production model that he was working on, and
That's early.
yeah. But evidently, all the mechanical parts are pretty much the same, which is why they use that as training. But he was showing the short and skinny of it is that like very spacious inside, very open. He was sending us photos of that. And
It's got the biggest third row than all the other vehicles on the market.
But apparently, that third row doesn't get any. Like the front row gets ventilated and heated seats. The second row gets heated seats. Third row gets nothing.
It gets cup holders. The second row doesn't get any cup holders.
Man, cup holder. Well, what do I care? I'll always be in the front.
So then why do you care about the heated seats and the no heated
Well,
seats?
because I like to care about my passengers, Michael.
Okay.
Except that they have cup holders.
They don't need it. Nobody needs to be drinking in my car.
Or you just think you're feeding the kids goldfish?
My kid does not count. He is royalty. But all you plebeians get to sit there and watch. Maybe if you're lucky, you can smell his breath.
You?
Well, okay. I understand the most controversial news of the week is about the ID Buzz, but I have this big question that I've been waiting to ask Mike all these weeks, which is that, and I'm glad Randy's here to witness this. Would you take a Scout EV over a Rivian, and why?
Well, Rivian exists today. A Scout does not exist yet. So kind of hard to judge based off of it. I like the idea.
Throw that argument aside. Just assuming they're both out.
Okay, they're both out. Scout seems to, from what they've unveiled, it seems like it's working on Rivian zonal architecture. So you've got the Rivian interior or the software working with you.
They shared as many components as possible with that zonal architecture.
I mean, it kind of looks like an R1T.
Some people say that. I don't necessarily see
it.
much of it.
Well, I've never been inside an R1T, so I can only go off of these video clips.
It's hilarious that you still haven't, and you live in Colorado, but I digress.
What's hilarious is I have more. You know what?
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
I like the style of
I'll say it out when we're done recording.
I love the style of the Scouts a lot.
Bigger frunk than a Rivian.
I think they nailed it with the design. It's a both traditional but modern take.
Cup holder in the front.
Yeah, there's a cup holder in the front and all that. Also a air compressor as well. This video, by the way, is from Fadra Nally. She actually owns a Scout 2.
Lord Fadra.
She owns a Scout 2, and so she was invited out as a member of the community to check it out, which I thought was really great for the people who picked up this brand to invite these communities out who own the vehicles and service the vehicles still to see what's coming.
Open roof.
I think, to answer your question, Drew.
Please, I'm dying here. I want to know what you're going to pick.
It's a tough answer.
So you thought procrastinating would help?
Yeah, I know. I was hoping that I'd make a decision by the time I got here.
Well, there's just so much overlap, I feel like, in vibe.
You can't tell me that doesn't look like an R1T.
I mean, they're both normal-looking trucks.
No!
Yes, neither of them look like a Cybertruck or a Tello, which are like the only unique-looking pickup trucks. Everything else is the same, generic. But there's no gear tunnel.
There's no gear tunnel, but
there's no gear tunnel now for the newer models.
There's a gear tunnel in the new ones.
What are you talking about?
No, they did away with it, I thought. Oh, they just got rid of the kitchen?
The kitchen was never a thing.
The gear tunnel has never gone anywhere. It's still there.
Yeah.
No, they got rid of the kitchen then. I remember the whole outdoor kitchen thing. The
kitchen was never a thing, Randy.
Different.
The kitchen was never a thing either.
I am talking about Rivian, by the way.
Yeah, the kitchen
Yeah,
was
I'm
never a
saying-
thing with the R1T. They tried to make it work, and then they were having trouble. And it seems like what they're going to do is regress on the gear tunnel kitchen, and they're going to just put it on the back as a tailgate option.
My whole life's a lie. Okay, Mike, no more procrastinating. Tell me, what do you pick and why? That's a Rivian.
I think I know the answer and why.
Well, I want to hear Mike. He's just
He
dragging
just
it
doesn't want to
out.
say it because
Just-
he's loves Rivian
Don't
so
wanna
much.
say
He doesn't
it, but
wanna
I-
burn that bridge.
Say it, Mike. So I can
He's saying, "I
spit
know what
on
I
you."
have to do, but I don't have the strength to do it."
Much. So here's the thing.
Here we freaking go.
I love the Scouts look. I love what Rivian stands for. They're both fantastic takes on an EV truck and SUV.
You're not running for office, Mike. I want an answer.
Some people say that I was.
Mr. Vice President elect.
I would say
JD Vance, everybody.
I'd say the Scout. I'd say I'd go with
Yep.
the Scout.
Yeah,
Mainly
you're right.
because I love what they've done with the utility around this thing.
I have lost all respect for you.
It gives me the space that I already want / need in a truck.
You mean invisible land because it doesn't exist, but
No, we're not
R1Ts
counting
do?
that.
Drew's
that's a
argument
different-
was that it does exist.
That's a different debate. That's a different thing.
Drew is
Yeah.
wrong.
It doesn't exist.
Okay, fine,
so-
fine, fine.
Look
They
at
still
this. It's a
exist.
retractable rear window. Rivian doesn't have that.
That's true.
No,
and
instead they
also-
actually have cells.
Look at this NAX port right here. Look, you got the NAX port.
I
with
like that.
plugs right there. I think that's awesome. And look, the tail light comes through this bodywork right
the
to here.
outlets are right next
Listen,
to the.
give me
charge port.
3
That's
hours
cool.
to learn how to CGI something, and I'll give you something cool for Rivian.
Okay. But it's got a
Wha-
5.5 foot bed, which is a little bit, well, yeah, a foot and a half bigger than Rivian's. And offers LED lighting in there as well, and a retractable
Not a foot and a half,
backless
but
and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, but it does matter
bigger.
in some cases.
It is bigger.
Does
I'm
this?
surprised none of those retractable rear windows have made it to any other electric truck.
It hasn't
Thank
been
you.
something worthwhile yet. But I guess
Thank you.
with all the money that VW is dumping into this brand, it seems like that'll be.
Does that mean it's going to be a part of Electrify America?
Well, it's got NAX as its base port. And so I would think
NAX is
Electrify
standard.
America has to, well, I guess they already did say that they're going to offer NAX. But
You'll never have to go there. You could
I
just
think-
supercharge it every time if you want.
yeah, I think the fact that it has Rivian's zonal architecture with it.
It literally runs Rivian software, I
Yeah.
think.
So then why not
And-
just go with Rivian?
This is cheaper.
Because this offers some other things that I want in a pickup / SUV that Rivian doesn't right now. And weren't you just saying that Rivian's going to go bankrupt or something like that earlier? In the podcast?
They're all going to go bankrupt, but according to Drew, these aren't the stipulations, so we have to pretend everything is.
Well, here's the
profitable.
beautiful thing then,
No,
is
no,
that
no,
this
wait,
is
wait, wait.
underneath a legacy auto company that is supporting it. So
That's
they're not
true.
going to go away as easily as a startup because they're not acting like a startup. They're like Polestar with Volvo. Volvo is supporting Polestar in their effort to become a company. Same thing with Scout and VW.
Yeah, they have a fallback income with gas vehicles, whereas Rivian doesn't really.
Which is why Rivian is more likely to succeed. Because when you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. That's what I give Tesla. Tesla put it all on black, and they said, "Here we go." Or in this case, they put it all on orange, and they said, "Here we go." So- and they spin the roulette.
So,
And that was it.
Randy, what was your reaction then to the Scout unveiling? Because at least mine, I was screaming out loud in my car listening to the unveil as I drove home over the fact that they have a bench seat. I was very excited over all the things that they announced with this thing. Granted, we don't know what's going to look like at the end of the rainbow, but I was very happy to see what they were striving to achieve with the brand.
I didn't watch the event.
I linked it
did.
to you that night.
That doesn't
I
mean I
was-
watched it.
Streaming in the okay. So you still haven't watched it.
What day did this happen? What day was it?
2 weeks ago on Thursday. So
All my troubles seem so far away.
that was someday.
That was such a simple time.
Yesterday.
24th.
I was like, oh, another EV startup. Cool. Let's talk about that.
Tax credits. No, I didn't watch. I didn't watch whatever you linked to me. In fact, I probably didn't even get the link, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, I'm watching it right here for the first time and see what you guys talk about. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm just so jaded right now. I don't know if the EV community is gonna be this vibrant. Okay, so Volkswagen's gonna just kind of. We're looking at a concept. Guess what? Drew works for a concept. It's all concepts. Doesn't matter. I would put
but
more.
some of them become real.
I know, and the
Cybertruck was a concept. Now it's the third best-selling EV.
Cybertruck was, by the time they announced Cybertruck, Tesla was profitable. So, no, these guys. Here's the thing. I rather the enthusiast in me of the EV space. If we're talking just about concepts, I would put all my money behind a Tello truck before I would a Volkswagen because I trust an all-electric company first before I would trust Volkswagen or Volvo with Polestar or any. I have
more backing what I said in the past.
Aren't
you like a huge fan of VW?
I am, but not for their EVs. I was a customer. I used them. They're good vehicles. 9 German 9. They're very good engineering. It's just I liked my Jetta that I had. It was a good car. It was a very good car. I wasn't emotionally attached to it the way I am the Model 3. For an EV, I trust an all EV company first to get it right. I mean, how many legacy automakers show you something, proof of concept, and then production, it doesn't look the same, i.e. the ID Buzz. I see what I did there? i.e. ID Buzz.
Sure.
Change it doesn't. I don't think that the truck is going to look like that. But I do trust Tello. I trust Aptera. I trust the actual non-fallback legacy companies that are trying to actually make a dent in the EV universe. I have more merit on that.
That you take a little bit more comfort in with this brand is that a lot of the interviews that went on after the unveiling revealed that VW is pretty much hands off with Scout. They're pretty much just letting them do what they're going to do, and they're going to provide the support where they need it.
So this is very much like Volvo.
This is very much like Volvo and Polestar. They're letting them do what they're going to do, and they'll provide whatever support that they can when they're needed.
And it's direct to consumer.
They're not using dealerships, which is making a lot of these dealerships very angry to where they started a lawsuit because of it.
They might get sued.
Well, darn, too bad. I mean, CEO of Farley, he tried to have a direct to consumer initiative. It just didn't work out. But okay, so all right. If they are hands off and they're just more or less an investor, no different than Amazon with Rivian or Volvo with Polestar, then I will be cautiously optimistic. But what's their timeline? What's the ETA of these vehicles?
2027 is what they announced as these vehicles launch.
So much is going to change between now and then.
Exactly, which is something that's my one, maybe not criticism, but at least skepticism with it is people say, oh, this is going to kick the pants off of Rivian.
No.
But this is Rivian launching Rivians many, many years later after another company has produced the same vehicles pretty much.
Rivian will be dead in the water by 2027, or they're going to be completely sustainable by then. So it's one or the other by 2027.
And that's the beauty of it, is that by the time that Scout comes to production, the R2 will be in production, and we'll see whether they're able to float or not.
That's right.
And then also along with that, the R3 will hopefully be coming into production.
I just had this aha. I see what RJ's doing. If Rivian's dead in the water, they're just going to go work for Scout then. They're just going to port all the software and be a division of that. I mean, because that looks like an R1T. Get out of my face. That's an R1T right there.
Do you guys think RJ knew about this when they signed the contract with VW?
Yes, absolutely. I do.
They're probably.
You don't think he would have thought twice about it? Like, so what are you going to use this for? And they just show like carbon cut copies of the R1T, R1S, and
You
they're
can
like,
copy my homework, just don't make it look obvious.
interesting choice you made.
This is the Steve Jobs, Bill Gates both going to Xerox, and then they'll be like, well, Steve. And then he just takes his idea of the GUI interface anyway. And, they're both, listen, great artists copy. No, good artists copy, great artists steal. So whose designs? Because right now, all I see is Rivian all over this thing. But if they're dead in the water by 2027, then it's really not going to matter by then. So yeah, so much is going to happen. Back to your thing, Mike, between now and 2027. I will be cautiously optimistic, but that is such in EV and tech space, 2027 is a millennium away.
Yeah.
It could.
And even with that, I'm trying to
A
find
new presidential campaign will be happening in 2027. That's how far away it is. Like, think about that. We're not even technically done with this one. It's over, but we still have the Biden administration. There's gonna be a whole different campaign by 2027. That's how far away this intent to launch date is, assuming everything's flawless between now and then. So that's a lot. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. I think the one other concern that I have is that VW is pouring a lot of money into these two companies because they're giving Rivian $1 billion every year due to this deal. And then they're also putting a lot of money into Scout to make these things happen. Do
you not think, Drew, that RJ would have gone with this deal? Otherwise, you think he was withheld some information?
I think they would have thought. I think RJ would have thought twice if he saw this. Like, I feel like it's almost directly targeted at Rivian. There's very little differences. If it weren't for the gas generator and
there it is,
bench seat, there's so much overlap between the two that, like, yeah, I feel like RJ would go, oh, okay. Maybe he didn't have a choice. Maybe he was like, we need the money, so this is going to be a little risky. But honestly, I think Rivian is very much dependent on brand power right now. As far as like in-house proprietary technology, Rivian doesn't have much, if I'm being honest. Tesla's got the self-driving stuff. Aptera's got the solar, the efficiency stuff, and Tello's all about the size efficiency. What's Rivian? What's their shtick? What's their tech thing?
First EV truck to market.
But that's a milestone. That's not
brand power. It's brand power.
It's got a higher what's it called? Higher score than Subaru in terms of satisfaction, and
that's not nothing. Subarus are popular.
Oh no, brand power is extrememly powerful, but all I'm saying is, like, as far as their battery pack is concerned, there's not really anything special proprietary there. Their powertrains aren't. I mean,
they're proprietary. They have one of the most richest companies in the world backing them right now. That's pretty proprietary.
Yeah. You could argue Lucid has more.
Scout has that as well.
Yeah, Lucid is definitely number one right there. I said one up, but nothing comes close to that Saudi money. Lucid, I'm convinced, will always be around against its own interests.
Lucid, after Trump won, they're like,
anyways,
where's my check, Saudi? I'm ready for my stimulus check.
Not my stimmy.
Here's the data I was looking for earlier. This is provided by Rivian Updates, who got it from some environmental protection agency or some other. Anyways, the idea for the Georgia plant, right, is to get everything squared up and ready to go, or breaking ground in 2026 and actually getting things validated and saleable production in 2027, 2028.
Oh,
And that's for R2 plus R3 for Georgia.
2028 is going to be an amazing year.
Why,
for many
Drew?
reasons.
We'll have a different president, and the R3 will be coming out. Oh,
R3 is probably the more exciting thing.
Who knows if
I
this thing
had to
gets
click
delayed though,
remote.
Drew, compared or due to our current president.
Oh.
There's a
Well, at
lot of
least-
push against VW because of our administration, most likely. And they may
Yeah.
not be able to gush that much money out for two brands that they're paying billions of dollars to.
Billions and billions.
Rivian got a lot of state funding at least, and the R1 products are not very tax credit dependent. They're too expensive. Like very, very few R1 vehicles actually qualify for the tax credit. So even if the tax credit's gone, I don't think much will change for the R1. The only problem is it's not very profitable already. So hopefully they can get the R1 vehicles profitable. I've been seeing people with the new Trimaxes. The new interior on the Trimax, that's it. That color of wood is so good.
Very
I think
orange.
it might be my favorite interior of any vehicle right now. It's so beautiful.
I agree. That's gorgeous looking.
That's one. I'd be curious of your thoughts on it, Mike. That's one issue I have with the Scout Motors interior. I understand wanting to have physical controls so that you can keep your eyes on the road. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when you have like 12 physical buttons in a row beneath the display, I feel like that kind of defeats the point.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of those buttons are more redundant for climate control and all that.
Yeah.
Let's see if
But when there's that many buttons, you're not going to have muscle memory for them. You're not going to have like muscle memory for like
I would
4
think you
buttons from the
would,
left.
at least
really?
Yeah, I feel like you would.
Yeah, like, oh, the cooled / heated seats for the passenger or whatever are on the right side. I guess you're not really messing with those because
I would.
A lot of these are meant for the passengers, in which the driver gets most of their controls on the steering wheel.
Can we talk about buttons really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're seeing the readjustment of buttons and things are kind of reacclimating again. We went from too many buttons to a very minimalistic design for many years to now there's buttons, there's physical buttons coming back again. And I think it's in response to all this screen only technology that we've been seeing come to EVs, and Tesla being one extreme of the spectrum, and then something like Legacy Auto being on the other when it comes to just user control input. I think buttons have a certain I don't know I don't know what the right word is, but there's a level of necessity to have tactile feedback, because I saw this. I'm pretty sure I saw a video. I don't think I read a report or anything like that, but I saw this video that people were making this speculation of sorts that like having no buttons didn't make it safer for drivers with eyes on the road, because they had to break contact with the road to look where they're tapped. Whereas like when we can feel for something, we click, we can turn, and you could drive pretty confidently just still staring at the road. And so bringing some buttons back felt like more of a necessity, not just the legal requirements like a hazard, but then also having a more comfortable experience as the driver of or the operator of the vehicle. So I've been thinking about this for a while. I think we're going to see an influx of many buttons that may be closer to, or even a little bit more dramatic than what you would get on the higher end Teslas like a Model S or X, that you're going to get more of a is it appropriate to call it a hybrid with screen and buttons, but ultimately having redundancy so that way you choose to do whatever makes you the most comfortable, giving you more options, because it's not like, oh, it's cheaper just to do it this way or the other. It's like, it's not really that big of a deal. But I think objectively, from what I was gathering, my takeaway from this video I saw was that people who are a little bit more on the fence about going to EVs are more intimidated about the operation of the vehicle than they are being open-minded about using battery technology. They're like, no, it's just, it's too bare. It's kind of intimidating. And it's like, you need to work your way up to a Tesla. You need to work your way up to legendary mode before you just hit the ground running. And some people feel more comfortable having a more tactile, more
that's
a more familiar experience. That is great. That's too much.
There's
That's
a lot
ridiculous.
of aux switches on the driver's side, the left side of the dash.
You know what? Maybe as a comfort, give them buttons that don't do anything, just so they can fidget spin or something. You know, give them something like that.
Give me an in.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think Scout probably rightfully was like, nah, if we did exactly what Rivian did, that would be a little annoying. But they're kind of like Rivian, but a little bit more legacy, both in the way the company's set up financially, being supported by VW, but also in design. Like, we still have a little bit of gas, which I don't like. We still have some physical buttons, which I don't like. But again, they shouldn't do just what I want. They should do what there's a market for. But it should be mentioned that, a lot of people like buttons, but statistically speaking, at least sales-wise, based on today, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that people would rather have just a cheaper EV, even if there's less buttons. Like, that's all that.
Well,
that's why Tesla's they're selling so well, even though they have very little buttons. It's not stopping people.
Well, the interesting thing is that they claim that entry models start as low as 50,000. Who knows if they actually
available incentives?
With available incentives, otherwise, the retail price starts under 60K.
So I would shut up about incentives if I was working at an EV company.
But even so, the fact that they are trying to target $60,000, and they're supported by a traditional legacy auto company, I would think that they're going to get close, even though it might be maybe $65,000 or $69,000. That's not bad for something that's supposed to be a competitor to a R1T or an R1S, which I think starts a little bit higher than that, if I recall.
Oh yeah, no, much higher, I would say. They're usually north of 70,000.
The dual standard is 75.
Yeah, so they're
just making sure I'm not
substantially more expensive. Though, to be fair, all the R1Ss are 7-seaters by default, and I don't think they're mentioning 7-seaters at all for the Scout.
No, because I don't think they've got space in there. They're targeting, from what we can see in these images, because now I'm zoomed in as much as I can be. The max that they could probably take is 6 people with a bench seat in the front and the back.
That's pretty good. I mean, not quite 7, but if you only got 2 rows and you can fit 7, that's decent. I mean, it's 6. Sorry,
6 people. I mean, that's what I already fit in my Ram, and I think that's why I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. Is that it's just like my Ram, but an EV, and also if we want, we can opt for the gas generator. And it's now pretty much a hybrid. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of repair and servicing and all that, but it can go 500 miles. It offers exactly what we already have, and it's a lot more efficient. Costs double than what we paid, but there's a lot more modern aesthetics to it that we would enjoy and value compared to what's in our current truck.
Maybe you can answer me this, because I'm still unsure how the gas generator works.
Mm-hmm.
If the generator's like empty, there's no gas in it, and the battery pack is almost dead, like 0%, could I just take it to a gas station?
Yes.
Gas it up and get 500 miles without ever touching a DC fast charger?
I don't think you get 500 miles. I think what they're claiming is 500 miles in combination of a full battery and a full tank of gas, in which that might be hard to achieve
Right.
because you have to start somewhere with a full tank of or full charge of something.
Now you got to stop at fast chargers and gas stations.
Well, you don't have to, but so that's where I'm a lot more interested in these. I think they're called serial hybrids. Is how that system works with a gas generator. Is the gas generator always on? Does it kick on after a certain percentage? Like what's the deal with this generator? When does it turn on? What's the RPMs on it as the battery depletes? Because it doesn't have to vary its RPMs much, which is great for that because it means that the engine is not going to need a lot of maintenance because it's not varying all the time, causing inefficiencies as well. So that is the question, but I would think you could probably survive on this without fueling it up or without charging it. If you want to use it as either just a gas car or just as an EV vehicle. EV vehicle, electric vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way as I did about the Ram Charger. I'm like,
okay.
I want to see if there's demand for this type of thing because it's been talked about several times.
I think, was it over 60? Where's the article? It's like over 60%. There we go. Overwhelming reservations are overwhelmingly for the Harvester E-Rev. That's what they're going to call it. I think it's over 70%. This was reported on Inside EV on the 28th of October.
I'd love to know how many deposits they got. I'm kind of a sucker for that data.
So 81% who have entered their order information have opted for Harvester.
There were 10 deposits.
Yeah, right. There's only 10.
8 of them were for the Harvester.
Oh, wow. They've got a lot of numbers here. Updated October 29th. Let me zoom in a little bit more for those that are actually watching.
Everybody's watching, Mike.
But top 10 popular states is California, Texas, Florida, Colorado, Arizona, Washington.
Yeah. So the ones with the most people. That makes sense.
Right. But
it seems like most people wanted the bench seat.
Yeah, which is great. And also, I think this is what makes me happy is you may not like the gas generator, Drew, but this statistic puts a smile on my face showing that previously / currently owning an EV, 30% is yes, 45% is no. I mean that
What's
the majority
the last 25%.
I don't know what the last 25 here.
They leased an EV.
Yeah, maybe so. But that would be captured in here, right? So again, remains to be
is
seen.
An improvement. They would
I
be
like
using
the fact
less
that
gas.
people are interested in this thing and they don't own an EV.
'Cause I'm happy.
Yeah. So I think my position on these extended range options that we're seeing with Scout and Ram only opens the door more for those that want to get into an EV-like experience, even though it's not a full EV. Which is fine when they market it. It's a full EV with a gas generator, or an extended range, whatever it is.
Full.
Yeah.
Don't use full.
Unless you're full of baloney.
It's not any more full than full self-driving.
Yeah, right.
It's the same logic.
But it only opens the gates more for those that are interested in a vehicle like this and actually makes transportation a lot more sustainable because they are plugging in possibly more. And that's our goal, right? Is to, if we're aligning with this idea that Tesla's goal is to accelerate the adoption of sustainable transportation, I think it's close to that. If we're wanting to become more sustainable with our transportation practices, this is at least a great gateway into it. And this might lead, I don't want to say it's a gateway drug, but it's a great way for people to experience an EV without
that's a good analogy.
Fully committing. And then they might be more open to getting a Bolt for very cheap. And then seeing that, oh, this isn't too different from my Scout. It's just I can't fuel it up with gas. But that's okay. It doesn't need to.
Yeah, like like I've said before, there's two approaches to the problem of what if I'm driving out in the middle of nowhere and I'm worried about range and I'm worried about
Mhm.
the two approaches are, well, we can build more charge stations so that it becomes harder and harder to get to a space where you couldn't charge, or the gas generator route. And I think Rivian is more the company to say, let's build more chargers.
They
And
are.
Scout's the company that's like, let's rely on the gas infrastructure.
Yeah. Which is okay. I mean, they also said before this or during this presentation that a lot of the early viewers of this product were asking if they would consider a gas generator. And they weren't I mean, they maybe considered it at first, but they weren't going to go forward with the idea. But they had so many comments on that they reconsidered that and decided later in the game for the design of this vehicle to introduce that capability or that
Drew,
option.
is this something you're even interested in? A Scout? Would you? Is that something you can see fitting your life in your lineup by 2027? Or are you just observing the space?
You're not going to like my answer, so I
Go ahead. No. I'm asking you. I'm coming to you with good faith that you're not going to lead me the wrong way.
it's too big.
It's too big. Isn't it the same dimensions of an R1S?
No, that's. I mean, if I wanted an SUV, or I was referring to the truck variant, but if we're
Okay.
talking about the SUV, I would much rather have an R2.
Sure.
Just because I like the interior design more. I understand why some people want the physical controls, but I'm more of a software guy. I'm like, nah, I don't need more buttons. It's harder to clean. It's more complexity, and I like efficiency as well. So honestly, there's still a decent chance I would get a refresh Model Y before I get an R2. I'm a numbers guy, so I'm not even a big SUV fan. It would more be my wife interested. But I showed my wife the Scout vehicles, and she was like, "What? You expect me to have an opinion on this?" I was like, "Oh, what do you think?" She was like, Rivian looks better."
Oh wow.
Something like that. So she was not impressed. She thought they looked kind of AI generated.
Well, yeah, it's still a concept with a lot of the images, and they wanted to get a more cleaner look with
Yeah,
what they're presenting rather than the prototype that they've built.
right. Yeah,
She
I'm
looked and said,
more.
well, you want me to have an opinion?
I'm not looking at Scout so much as a potential purchase for me. It's not really catered towards me, but I still enjoy looking at the EV industry as a whole, as all the different styles, all the different approaches, all the different, like, we're trying this a little differently. And I do think that them being backed by VW adds a bit of validity to the
Yeah.
brand. Like, it's not the same thing as just a young startup that's trying to find investors. It's like, no, they've got a multi-billion-dollar organization supporting them and funding them, and they had the governor there at the event, and they talked about where the factory is going to be, where the parts are coming from. So it felt a bit more real than, just a startup with a dream. Usually the startups with a dream are a lot more interesting to me, though, because they try to be more radical and rethink form factors, which I'm more excited by. But I'd like to be aware of all the different brands and their different tactics and styles and what they're trying and how effective it is. But
Sure.
yeah, for me personally, I feel like it's a bit big for a 5 to 6 seater. Like, if I was buying a vehicle that large, I would want 3 rows. And I'm more of an efficiency than an off-road guy. So it's cool
Sure.
that they're optimized for off-roading, but that's not a big priority to me. But the truck as well left me wanting a little bit more. I was just like, come on, got like a gear tunnel or a mid gate or some kind of like way to. I wanted a little bit more spice, but I guess to them their
The more
spice was,
zhuzh.
yeah, something that makes
Yeah.
it stand out. But I guess for them it's gas generator, and I was like, yeah, that's not me. That you're barking up the wrong tree. The main reason I'm so into EVs is because I have a deep rooted in my core hatred of gas. I hate gas vehicles. I hate gas stations. I'm like, I want to buy an EV so I never go to a gas pump again, never have to fuss around with gas cans again. And when they were advertising it in the event, they they brought up the gas as if it was supposed to make the whole crowd go like, woo!
They
And
were
I was
happy.
like,
The crowd was happy. They were cheering.
I was not.
Well,
but I'm
because
happy for them. I just am like, if you love gas that much, why are you buying an EV? Just buy a gas.
Maybe
buy a
because
Bronco.
the tech is cooler for EVs. You know, maybe they want a little bit of the best of both. They want the convenience of gas,
Yeah,
but they want the
that's
tech
it.
of
You're
EV.
right.
I,
maybe
I,
it's super hybrid.
that was the first thing that got me attracted to EVs was all the cool stuff I was seeing in Tesla. I was like, why isn't that mainstream? So
That's fair.
as a tech
That
fanatic,
that shot made me roll my eyes with a bit of gas.
Gas!
With a period.
They put the period there like it's a mic drop, and I was like, no.
Well,
No.
it is what they like. Again, this was all in the effort of people asked for it. A lot of people
Yeah.
who got an early look asked for it. And they looked at, okay, if this is going to make us more successful as a brand, why don't we entertain this idea? And also, we already have a Rivian. Do you want just a Rivian Part 2? Or do you want something that's a
No.
little bit different?
No, you're
And
right.
I think this is a great alternative for those that want something like a Rivian, but aren't ready to take the full plunge of a full EV, or want something a little bit more traditional looking rather than a little bit more modern looking.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
I applaud them for carving out their own identity, even though they've had an identity technically 40 years ago when they when they had one before they
Yeah.
went out of business. But I
I'm
actually
glad-
saw a Scout 2 yesterday when I was driving home. It was sitting I was driving through South Bay, and I was going through a residential neighborhood, and I looked at something that looked like a Bronco. I'm like, oh, cool, Bronco. Wait a second. That's not Bronco. And then as I passed the front of it, I'm like, oh, wait a second. That's a Scout headlight. I realized after a little bit, oh, it's a Scout 2. That's sweet.
I'm glad that the companies that are falling back on gas a little bit are the ones with legacy, like the ones from the 20th century. That makes sense. Be like, the Scout brand was gas, so having a little bit of a nod to that. There's some nostalgia there. You're more likely to have people who remember the Scouts or were fond of the Scouts, which are the type of people to be more likely interested in having a gas option. I would feel a lot weirder about it if it was a startup.
Yes. Imagine Rivian comes out next month saying, we're going to have a gas generator built into the R1.
Yeah, that would piss me
S1T.
off.
I would have
I would be
trust
mad.
issues immediately with Rivian.
Yeah.
If they, I would just call them a shill. Like you're just,
You
You're
gave
giving
up.
up.
the wind's going this way. Now I'm just gonna go where the money is. If anybody did that, Rivian or anybody, also we're gonna do a gas variant. I've lost all trust with you, and I hope you don't survive because now you're not. I don't believe you.
Wow.
At this rate, it feels like Tesla would add a gas range option back.
I don't think so. No. I don't think
That
that's
sounds like
happening.
something 2024 Elon would do. Hey, bro, gas isn't that bad.
We use it for SpaceX. You need to vote like your life depends on it.
All right, Drew. Here's the conundrum.
Okay.
The Cybercab comes out
Uh-oh.
and it has a steering wheel.
What? No, it's not.
Okay.
But okay, go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
You can only get it with a gas tank.
Oh no, deal breaker easily.
Okay.
Because I'm in it for the efficiency, so the gas tank would kill all the efficiency gains.
Yeah, but the aero efficiency would still be there.
Doesn't matter. The Arrow's not your biggest loss leader if you have a gas engine.
You're
Now
pretty
that's
much
your
looking
biggest-
at a Prius or a Honda Insight right here.
Yeah,
And you're not buying one.
I'm not buying Prius. Yeah, no. I'm an EV fan through and through. I'm willing to pay for a massive premium. I see not requiring gas as a perk. I take that as
Agreed.
a benefit and advantage because I've had so many horrible gas car experiences with transmissions, head gaskets, oil changes, yada yada yada. All that stuff I hate. The complexity, and
Amen.
that that's why I called it Tailosive EV, because I realized from the beginning I'm open to talking about anything that doesn't have a combustion engine. That was why I named it Tailosive EV instead of Tailosive Auto, Tailosive Cars or something. Because I was
And
like,
yet you talked about Scout a few videos ago, which will have
I
a
did.
gas generator in it.
But it's optional. So
Yes.
they definitely are building it to be primarily used in electric mode, and the gas generator to just help you out on edge cases, which like I explained, I'm not a fan of, but I get why they did it.
It's also American built
little
as
market
well.
for it.
For those that are interested, it's fully
Yeah,
American.
that's cool.
It's built in South Carolina. The only parts that are going to be German from VW are things that are more related to like window switches. If not even that, it's
Gustav Streifelheim.
standards and regulation parts for safety and or rolling up and down windows, stuff like that. It's very minute stuff that isn't going to be intruding on what this vehicle is and how it's built. A significant amount, I should say. It's
That part is cool.
share. Yeah.
I like
so
that.
It being fully American made, I think is awesome. Even though the incentives might be going away, at least we can say that this is a fully American product that is not going to be heavily tariffed as a product compared to many other brands that are having trouble with that reality right now and scrambling to come up with a solution now because of the United States political climate.
No.
Where, of course, Scout's got time, but also they'll have that ability to pivot easily.
Pivot?
Yeah.
Pivot?
That's good.
There's the Scout too. Or the Scout one.
I'm not putting any deposits down, but I wish them all the best.
Do you guys think that I put down a deposit?
No.
Well, you're right. I did not.
No,
I already got burnt once on.
Yeah, as I say, I think you learned your lesson.
Yeah, they're really cool. I love them. I thought about it for maybe a good 30 minutes. And I thought, we're not in the market for one. We're not going to be in the market for one unless, like I've said with the Model Y, if it ever gets into a crash, then I'll start thinking about it. But even so, who knows when that happens? I'm not intentionally trying to crash my vehicles. So when the time comes,
depends how much you use FSD.
Yeah, that thing was horrific the other day. That thing was.
Speaking of, though,
it was
my
not
wife
a fun driving experience.
Got FSD, again for a month or whatever, and she was like, she told me, she goes, apparently I got it again. I'm like, cool, we could try it with the white, and she was just like, I don't want it. She was so over
that
it.
was my wife too. She got the email that was like,
yeah, stop putting it down my throat. I don't want it
now. And she's like, no, get away.
You
just turn it off every time.
You pig. Yeah, she was so mad. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Nice-ish on the freeway, but that's about it.
Not even. Mine keeps on trying to redirect me a different location.
Oh, really? Mine will still drift on the freeway, and I'm on the latest version.
Oh. Mine keeps on braking randomly on city streets, and I'm just not a fan.
It's so annoying whenever it's dark. It's like so predictable now. It's like when it gets dark outside, it just starts beeping. It's like, oh, degraded, and it'll beep audibly, which is quite annoying, like every 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I'm just turning it off. I don't want to hear that that's not a pleasant. It makes road tripping so enjoyable. In the daytime, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever.
Luckily, it's a very nice car to drive anyway, so I still enjoy driving it manually.
Yeah. As I've gotten older, so much of just life changing that like things that I thought I would use back then I don't use now because I don't go to a site location for driving. Like I find so I find those moments I get to drive for a little bit. Like I'd rather drive, be in control. It feels nice.
Mhm.
But back when I was driving all the time from one end of San Diego to the other, I was just like, boom, boom. Like, please save me from this. You know, California traffic is miserable. I totally get why people would want any type of relief when it comes to California traffic. But
Yes.
Very
outside
nice
of
for commuting.
yeah. I remember feeling that way when I was driving through DC. I'm like, oh, I do not miss this. But the car was so passive back then that like people just cut me off. I mean, all these DC drivers are just as aggressive as New York drivers, and they don't care about you and your FSD. They tell you, you know, they'll give you the one finger salute along the way too. So I'd rather just be in control myself.
You're number one. They keep telling me.
They always
I'm
say like, "You're number one, buddy." Hey, looking right at you. You're number one.
Everyone's so nice to me.
Wow.
But,
It was like, "Hey,
you know,
you."
I've come to a realization about the Tesla lineup
Oh.
that I only like the Model 3, really.
Go
There,
on.
especially
Really?
with the new vehicles, like the highway range test at 70 miles per hour with the cheapest Model 3. It got over 380 miles on a charge.
Yeah.
So what's the advantage of the Model S now?
No.
And it goes an extra 20 miles for twice the price.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, who cares about that? It's bigger. And
Model S is the iPod effect.
It really is. And the Model 3 performance is incredible. I prefer the bucket seats. Mike and I tried the plaid seats and the Model 3 performance seats, and I thought the Model 3 performance seats were better than the plaid. And I guess the plaid is a little bit faster off the line, but I floored it in the Model 3 performance, and I was like, yeah, nope, I never would need to go faster than that. Any faster than that to me is just flexing. And if we're going to flex, then the plaid Model S isn't even the fastest anymore. It's the Sapphire. So you're not winning that argument anyway. And if the Model 3 doesn't have enough storage space for you, then I'm forward thinking the Rivian R2 is going to be the more storage friendly, SUV at a similar price point. Tax credit's gone, so who cares, right? And Rivian's got a good brand. So if you're buying a vehicle for more storage, I think the R2 is a far better from the ground up designed to be an SUV than the Model Y, because the Model Y is mostly just like scaled up Model 3. And I get that the Model Y is a little bit more efficient, but I just see it as like the 3 has a ton of storage space, even though it's not a hatchback. We were loading up. Mike was there. We were at the Halloween party, and we were stuffing that thing full of pumpkins, and we had all these.
This man stole all my pumpkins.
Mike, what was your costume? I'm so sorry, completely unrelated to EV. I saw Drew's hilarious costume, but I don't know what yours was.
Oh, I was Wolverine.
Okay,
it was good.
Which is why
I'll send you a photo.
Yeah, I don't even.
Is that what's going on right here, bub?
Yeah. So if you're looking real close, if you're pixel peeping, yeah, I've shaved pretty much like my chin down in the middle a little bit and looking a little bit more like Wolverine. But I went for like the X-Men Origins Wolverine look rather than
Deadpool,
something like the Deadpool and Wolverine look.
I wish I could see you die.
But yeah, the Model X doors are too gimmicky. It's too expensive for what it is. And the Model Y, I just feel like, is the less efficient version of the 3. So I'm like, as far as what I am interested in EVs for, I see competition coming for the Model Y, especially with the R2.
Take it.
And I'm like, yeah, it's a big, overblown, in my opinion, overrated vehicle segment. I mean, my wife is still a big fan of it, but I'm like, she would rather pay the penalty of having a less efficient, more expensive vehicle for the sake of slightly more storage space. She thinks that trade-off is worth it, and I don't. That's
well, it's in the name, Drew. SUV or crossover or CUV. Utilities in the name.
What?
It is. I get a lot of utility out of the 3. I have not reached a point where I'm like, I can't fit all this stuff in the 3. And
you will be.
But again, if I reached a point where the 3 was not enough, I would be more interested in an R2 or the Lucid Earth, whatever that's going to be called, or I
The
I
lucid
feel like
ground.
I care about products with
Crest.
intentionality behind them, and I'm like, the R2 definitely has the intention of like maximizing cargo space.
Mhm.
You want something with higher ride height. That would be more fun to me if I was in the SUV market than the Model Y. I think I would take an R2, but I'm not. I don't really see any competition coming for the Model 3 though. Like no one's working on a more
That's because
efficient,
nobody ever comes for the iPhone 13 mini.
I guess,
Yeah.
but this is different though because the in this scenario the 13 mini gets longer battery life than the Pro Max.
I'm not saying it's a one-for-one comparison. I'm just saying nobody cares
Yeah.
about the Model 3 because the Model Y is the best-selling vehicle ever and will be in the future. And Trump
pretty good
himself came
deal in
down and
terms of
made
price.
it. God himself
It is a
said
good
this was the
price.
best vehicle ever.
0
So
APR
it's
right
just-
now.
On the 3 as well, but I'm just saying the 3 is cheaper and it goes further. And it's
Mhm.
not that much less storage capacity at the end of the day.
Boy, you're about to make me go buy another Model 3 just because I believed you
No.
so hard.
I'm saying
No.
the one you have is great. Like the one I have is great. I drove around a lot with it this past week and I'm about to do a big road trip tomorrow.
I noticed something between my Model 3 and the Model Y, and there's a quality control issue with the Model Y. I'm realizing,
No.
and it's so minute. No, here, hang on, it's minute.
No.
It's minute. Before I actually go on, Mike, what type of steering wheel do you have? Do you have that fake leather, or do you have that other material?
Mine's an early version, so it's still fake.
It's the
I
fake
think
leather.
the early 3's got the real leather. The early Y's
I
did
don't
not.
think the Y's ever
No.
got real leather.
No, they got vegan, whatever. But I have the plastic. Was it scroll wheels? I think you have the metal ones.
Ah, okay. So here's what I've noticed. The steering wheel on the Model 3, it's just built better. Like it's a tighter, the material that's wrapping the steering wheel itself is snug, tight, minus the metal balls that burn during the summertime, which I never experienced in Colorado. So never got that
Balls of
hot.
steel?
Balls of steel.
That you could throw against the Cybertruck?
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I think the steering wheel is just built better than the Model Y. When I touch the Model Y, like I'll put my hand behind the like instead of just holding it like this, I sometimes rest it like this, and my little digits can touch behind, and I like to feel like the crease and just like I'm doing like an inspection, and I start poke, and there's like air bubbles or something that I can actually poke at that clothy material thing around the steering wheel that feels cheaper. And I feel like if I poke too long, it's gonna start unraveling. Like I can like tear it. And I'm like, whoa. And so then I go to my Model 3, and that thing's like skin tight, like it's built with the steering wheel. So I'm looking at I'm just using the steering wheel. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. But then I'm like, wait a minute. It's built differently because the Model Y has heated steering. The wheel gets warm. My Model 3 doesn't have that feature. But the
No,
Model
but
Y,
mine's also separating as well. And mine's not a heated steering wheel.
oh well,
Yeah.
then goes back to my other thing that as we try and play devil's advocate and give it the benefit of that. There's a quality control thing. With
I think
the
it's just
steering wheel.
worse now. That's all.
Yeah.
It has
That's
nothing to do with
unfortunate.
the heating feature.
So 2019 Model 3, I'm like, oh, I love you. Minus USB-A. I'm like, this is great. I'm okay. I'm okay with this. I hate wireless inductive charging on a Tesla. My phone gets so hot. I'm like, this is not good for the battery.
Yeah, mine doesn't even charge sometimes, and or just flies around, and or mine rattles because in the Model Ys it's elevated a lot more or whatever, or the old Model 3s and Model Ys, it's a tray that you can rotate up and down. Because you can rotate up and down, it can jiggle. and it'll make noise and all that. It's just an annoying noise to hear while you're driving around when it's supposed to be quiet and you're just hearing or stuff like that.
I just go into jiggle mode.
It's a bad jiggle mode. So yeah, I get it, Randy. It's a thing that happens with the Ys. I think it also happens with the 3s. I think you've just been lucky with not seeing it in your 3.
No, my Model 3 is aging so nicely.
Well, was it? You're at like 50,000 miles with it or something like that?
It doesn't matter. Miles don't count for anything.
It does in terms of usage.
I'm getting my fair use out of it. It's over 50, but I do feel like it's under 60.
I think you're in the 50s. Drew's in
61,000.
this. Yeah, Drew's at 61. I'm at 71. He's catching up to me now.
Well, yeah, you guys are weird.
Weird. We're using the vehicle.
I live in those things. Spend more time in my car than my house at this point. And I'm very happy with it. Just that's the only point I was trying to make, is that like the whole lineup is kind of depressing to me now, except the Model 3. I'm like, you're cool. All of you can go to heck. It's like, screw you. You're cool. I like you. Screw you. Like, Cybertruck's too expensive. Not very practical. All the build quality things with it have just been so depressing. Like seeing people drop 6 figures on this truck and then the steel flapping on the side of the road. I'm like, maybe in a couple generations it'll be cool. It's on its first gen. I think 2026 Cybertruck might be much better. They might learn from all the mistakes and improve upon it, but it's still too big. I think it's way bigger than it needs to be. And something I found myself, I keep realizing this. I keep thinking about this every time I take the Model 3 someplace. I'm like, I really love the dimensions. I really appreciate the fact that I think I'm about to hit the curb and then I get out and I had another foot to spare. Like, oh, there's like tons of space. Like, I can fit a lot in that car and it doesn't take up a lot of space. And every time I drive around a big vehicle, I'm reminded how much I like those smaller cars. So
fair enough.
If I was in the SUV market, I'd be waiting for the R2 personally.
Okay. Yeah.
R2's dope.
Like I've said in the past, if anything happened to the Y, I'd probably go for an R2. Like pretty much, I think what you asked the question before, Randy, of which one, or no, Drew, either of you. One of you asked which one I'd go forward with. I think the dream garage I have now is an R2 that replaces the Y, and the Scout Terra that replaces the Ram.
That's a pretty solid garage.
They're both really exciting vehicles to me that both offer things that I want / it satisfies my needs. Because even though you find that the Model 3, Drew, satisfies all your storage needs, at least with my Y, we find ourselves getting close to the max capacity with that thing because we cart around a bunch of stuff all over the place for various reasons. So
yeah, I don't know.
We find that the Y has the amount of space that we require and that we didn't overbuy in terms of space for a vehicle. Like we got the exact amount that we needed and future-proofed for any other life needs.
Owner's bias. I have it too.
Exactly. So we're both biased.
That's okay. It's probably better that way. I'm glad you bought the Model Y because that's how we met.
Yeah.
Who knows where we'd be if you bought a Model 3? You'd probably have so much more free time.
Who knows what I'd be doing right now? I would be trapped here listening to Trump talk at the beginning of the podcast.
And at the end of the podcast as well, quite frankly. All podcasts. It's going to be great. We're going to make podcasts great again.
Yeah, we're on episode 201 now. Is this going to be another great 100 episodes, Randy?
And I'm never leaving, baby. We're staying forever.
Well, as a final note that I wanted to add, I did see one at a local Polestar / Volvo facility. They had Polestar 3s in their lot waiting to go to customers. So
Oh.
Polestar 3s are now being delivered. And along with that, to boot, I
What's
had
that
the article
looking-
right here.
It doesn't
can
qualify
now-
for the tax credit.
Yeah. But they can now supercharge at
Hey!
Tesla Supercharge Week.
Another
So
one.
came just in time, pretty much, for approval to use the supercharging network and for deliveries of the vehicle.
That's great.
And they're
Love to
US
see
built,
it.
or at least a portion of them are US built. The
Yeah,
Polestar 3 and the Volvo EX90.
that's great too because they got the charge port in the right place,
Yes. Literally.
and they're on the
well, no,
same
list.
same architecture as Tesla, so they should hit their peak speed no problem.
400 volt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
Good
something
for
that I
them.
was very happy to hear, is that the 3 is finally coming. It took them forever, I guess. And along with that,
Do not
they
come.
can charge without any issue, which is something that my mom is eyeing in terms of her next vehicle. So it makes me happy to see that my mother will possibly be taken care of with her next vehicle purchase in terms of
I hope
not having
so.
to use Electrify America.
Yeah. God willing, no one will ever have to use it.
Right.
It's just going to be a bunch of empty stations. Are there EVs out there? Yeah, they just don't stop here. We don't know why. It's weird.
It's a mystery.
Well, on that note, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye y'all.